Can you hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Yes.
Perfect. So what we have seen, this is my 27th year with VELUX. So I've seen trends in skylight. We've just talked about daylight. We know that people are phototropic. They appreciate daylight. They want to be in an area that is naturally well lit. But we have seen trends over the last 20 years where skylights, very popular in homes starting in the late 70s, throughout the 80s, and even into the 90s. Fewer new homes or new remodeling projects have skylights. We do very well. VELUX is the largest manufacturer of skylights in the US and in the world. So we do very well, but we wanted to bring this attention to designers, to home builders, remodelers, and even homeowners. We focus very heavily on HGTV. People that watch that generally are people that are involved in home designs and have home plans. But one of the phrases that we want to start this presentation with is just considering the fifth wall. So not just leaving that empty, bland, nothing there, but taking advantage of that fifth wall and gaining a new perspective. Before I go into the idea of skylights, I don't want to leave the thought that we know lots of people have fears of skylights leaking. So since we know that to be the case, in 2010, we took the leading skylight in the industry and made it even better. And then we marketed it as the no leak skylight, which is very interesting to take a negative and put it right out in front of people. We did that because we knew it was on the mind of people. So you can see here two little, I think, funny photos. One using the VELUX no leak skylight as a kayak, and the second using the VELUX no leak skylight as an umbrella. What I do when I'm with a roofer, a builder, a remodeler, anybody that knows what the word home envelope means, I state with pride, because I have 10 VELUX in my own home, how the VELUX no leak skylight is absolutely the most watertight way to fill any opening in the home's envelope. And what I compare it to is it's tighter than a chimney. It's tighter than a dormer. It's tighter than a vent pipe, than a ridge vent. It's really even tighter than windows and doors, although they don't quite face the same elements because they're not up on the roof. But you can see in the picture the 4 layers of protection. The first being a window flange that seals the whole rough opening. There is a gasket, a neoprene gasket underneath the side, so it's very tight against that plywood decking. And then ice guard, which has been recommended for more than 20 years, probably 25, 26 years, it's been recommended, but not always used. It now comes in the flashing kit. And then the third item you see there is something that really is how we got our reputation as a great product, and that is the flashing kit. So I want to move on and talk about this concept of unique daylight. You can see a couple window companies, very good window companies, Pella, Marvin, Anderson. You see VELUX over there on that same page because we all share one thing in common, and that is Cardinal Glass, a very good company. They manufacture the glass for all of us. So we have the same glass. The important thing, though, is that when you take that piece of glass, and remember, the glass is the most important part of a window. When you take that piece of glass and you angle it or face it towards the source of light, which is the sun, you get at least twice as much light. So twice as much light as a vertical window, which is very cool. I mean, it's impressive to be able to get all that light when people are looking for light. That's one thing. But the second thing is, and I show this picture and not everybody understands it. If you take a look there, it's all the light fixtures, and there are a lot of can lights in there. But all those light fixtures have one thing in common. They are from above. So probably 100 years ago, lighting engineers said, hey, there's this thing called cylindrical illuminance, and light from above spreads out like a cylinder. Well, the same thing holds true with natural light. So when you have a window on the roof, a roof window, and that light, that very strong light, because I said at least twice as much light, it comes through there and spreads across the room, spreads across the space in a much more effective, a better manner. So what you get is you get twice as much light spreading across that room in a better way. And it really allows for some important decision making for a home designer. The first is, if you're trying to naturally light a space, then what happens is when you can bring VELUX or skylights into the equation, all of a sudden you are freed up. You have the flexibility to reduce or eliminate a window or two. What I'll often say is, hey, if you have 7 windows in that great room and you put 2 more skylights in, it's not going to be as energy efficient. But if you take and remove 2 or 3 of those windows, let's say 3 or 4 of those windows, all of a sudden you're going to get a better lit space because of the skylights. But now you've got less glass, and less glass means more energy efficiency, because a piece of glass never beats an insulated wall. So we've been working with a lot of code officials out there to promote the use of skylights and reduce some of the windows in order to make sure that you're getting a more efficient space. So we have all sorts of studies out there to prove this point. But let's take a look at a couple pictures. This is a very well-designed presentation from Maryland, because the first one is our friends from Warmall Homes up in the Frederick area. And this is one of their homes. They took one of their plans and sent it over to us, and we did a rendering to show what or how a skylight can have an impact in a great room. Take a look at the fireplace area where you see the 2 openings. That's a sunroom, because it's such a beautiful spot. It's right along the not the Potomac River, but the river that runs through Frederick. And that area is dark now because of that sunroom. And you can see the 2 windows above. They're just not quite doing the trick. But watch this before and after. You can see just from this picture how much light is coming through and the impact that a roof window has on that space. The discussion we had with Warmall was to consider removing those 2 windows. If they didn't have an aesthetic to their design, then all of a sudden you're just moving the resources from the wall to the ceiling. Another one, Baldwin Homes, Mike Baldwin, a good Home Builders Association member, he has this plan, and you can see it's a beautiful bathroom. He has those 2 windows on the wall. But what I can tell you what happens most of the time, and most people agree when you say, well, what do you think the first thing the homeowner is going to do here? They're going to put some type of drapery, some type of blinds or shades on those windows, which unfortunately means they lose their view and they lose their light. So before and after. Before and after. You can see how the light spreads across the room, like I was sharing before, and the strength of those windows. So all of a sudden, you've achieved something. Not only is it a better lit space, but you now have privacy and wall space to allow for more and different designs. Same thing in this space. You have some window coming through. You can already see what the drape is doing, what the shade is doing to the space. But if we take it and we bring in roof windows and move those windows up on the roof, then you have a better lit space, lots of privacy, and more wall space. I'd like to take and show just one more picture about the outdoor, because this is very popular now with a lot of builders where they're doing an outdoor space, whether it's a sunroom, whether it's some type of outdoor room. But what has happened here is this room, has all glass. So you're trying to maximize the light, but you can remember that you can't always get the same amount of light as you can when you're bringing the light in from above. And it's important to remember here, not only are you bringing in that light for this space, more importantly, that light is borrowed and brought into the kitchen or the great room or family room that was darkened by this addition. It's a very smart strategy to utilize skylights in this space to make sure you're maximizing as much light as possible. I'm going to use this last shot to show how light from above is special. You can see these two glass doors that lead out onto a porch that is blocking a lot of light. This kitchen is missing something, and it's mainly daylight. So what was done was they used a skylight to brighten that space. I'll do before and after again. Before and after. And so when I'm sharing these details with a kitchen designer, I usually talk about liberating wall space, because this kitchen designer is most likely looking for as many cabinets as possible, looking for as many or as much space for a microwave or refrigerator or the opening to the room next door. So they don't have as much space as they like. The skylight often will free up that wall space and brighten it at the same time. Then we have the sun tunnel, which is more of a last resort to brighten or bring daylight to an area that is unexpected. I mean, in this case, you walk in here, it's in the center of the house. They're not expecting daylight, when all of a sudden the sun tunnel brings that gift of daylight to the center or the core of a home. It's a wonderful gift. And these are somewhat the before and after pictures that I generally send out to people. It's just saying, hey, think about shifting your outlook or adjusting your design so that skylights, roof windows, become part of your window package. And by doing this, it doesn't cost more money. It'll make the home more energy efficient, but most of all, it's going to allow for a better lit space. So I'll go back and stop that. And here we are again. If you can see me. So the idea is there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to skylights. It's just a matter of talking about the different designs and where they will work best for that home. So VELUX offers a couple ways that you can get a feel of these skylights. Number one, we have model home programs. So if you're working on a model, if you're working on your own home and you want to try something, I'd be more than happy to provide a couple skylights at either free or discounted price. The other is what you saw from the two builders earlier. One was by Warmall and the other was by Baldwin Homes, and we've done a couple of others, but it's a before and after picture. All I need, or all we need, is a DWG drawing, and then a couple weeks later, we'll have that plan back to you with the before and after pictures, just like you saw. I'd like to stop there and go over one idea, because all those pictures really had to do with one thing, and that was daylight. This is a quick little Latin lesson. We have VELUX means air and light. When we started in 1941, the only roof windows we did were ones that opened. Today in the United States, it's probably 75% of our skylights are fixed, so customers aren't getting the benefits of fresh air. I would like to mention and talk a little bit about the stack effect, the idea of how warm air rises, or by opening a skylight and then opening a lower placed window or door achieves maximum airflow. And it's important that that measurement of air can be measured, and you can discuss it with code officials, because these skylights are automatic. The fresh air skylight, solar powered, is a mechanical device that will open according to whatever settings you put on it, whether it's a timer, whether it's an air temperature, a CO2 temperature. It comes with the rain sensor, all of these things. This technology is 38 years now. We've been making automatic skylights. It's a wonderful way to allow for a home to get not only fresh air, but to take a deep breath, because oftentimes the skylights aren't, or rather I'll say windows aren't even open. And the beautiful thing about this is the fresh air solar skylight or a solar powered shade on a VELUX allows for the builder to have the homeowner get or be eligible for 26% of the entire installed cost. That means framing, drywall, painting, insulation, the price of the product, the roofing, everything, the builder's sale price. So there's no max. It's all because of the word solar, but we think it's a wonderful way to share the great outdoors with customers. So I'll finish right there and then open it up to any questions. And I'd be more than happy to send this presentation to anybody that has questions.
Can you talk a little bit more about those sun tunnels? I'm fascinated by that. I know about skylights a little, but I was not familiar with that concept.
Okay, so tubular skylights have been popular in the building industry for close to 30 years. They're really made up of three parts: the skylight, the part on the roof, the tunnel material, and then the diffuser at the ceiling. So these do not offer a view, so you can't see out of them. Otherwise, you would have a circle on your floor. It's we offer lenses that will soften and diffuse and spread the light out across the room. So there's a couple different sizes, and they're all based on not having any framing. So we do offer a 22. I don't recommend that generally. I say try to stick with the 14-inch. That is what I consider the best product out there. It's our most popular. And then the 10-inch. We offer two types of tubing. One is flexible. That's what we originally started out with. But I highly recommend in the Maryland area, Pennsylvania area, Mid-Atlantic area, to go with rigid, because the reflectivity level is 98 to 99% reflectivity. I've had people go up to 30 feet, and they can even do a right angle. They can come down and go all the way across. The best is shorter and straighter. But I can also say that on the exterior, it was always domes. But 6 years ago, we came out with flat glass that has a 1-inch height to it. So it really is sleek and looks great on on the front of a house, anywhere on the house. So you don't have to worry about, hey, I need to put this on the back because I don't want to see it. Well, we haven't had any of the HOAs turn that down because it's so trim line to it. Along with that, if you heard me talking about the solar tax credit and the 26%, 2 years ago, we introduced a solar nightlight, and that solar nightlight, simply a little $30 product about the size of your iPhone, goes up inside the tunnel. So it's right inside the tunnel, and it's charging all day long. At night, the sensor on that product, just like your outdoor decking lights, automatically turns on, and you have a little 2-watt light bulb in the hallway or a bathroom. So you're able to see a light going to it. You already used to get that on moonlight nights, a full moon, you'd get that same thing, but now it's automatic. But the beauty of that little $30 nightlight, which takes all of 2 minutes to put in, the homeowner is now eligible for 26% of the entire price. So it's that word solar, whether it's the fresh air, whether it's the solar shade, whether it's the solar nightlight, that allows you to have that tax credit.
Thank you. That's pretty interesting stuff. I do have a room that could benefit from something like that.
The key is find out the distance and check to see if there's anything above. So a heating system, ductwork, wiring, or plumbing that you need to adjust. But that's why I said the 10 and the 14, which you can really move around. Those are the best. Those are the best. Any other questions? Okay.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
I put a new roof on my house about 2 years ago. It was probably 25 years old, and there were. Um, I hadn't lived there that long, but had a couple skylights in there, and the roofer said, you really ought to replace the skylights. And I think they were VELUX originally, and that's what I put back in. I was a little surprised at that. I'm again 20 to 25 years old was my guess, but the new roof has a 50-year warranty. I'm not going to be around that long, but our skylights, the ones I put in, do you think, these days, so that was 2018 when I put them in, are they that durable to match the roof?
Great question. I'd like to go back and talk about why the roofer gave you some very logical advice. Because let's just say the skylights were 20 some years old. They still had life expectancy in them, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what, he said, look, better do it now than have me come back in 10 years and have to replace
Well,
it.
that's the problem is, let's say, and first of all, they are up there. And if you were in the house when they were roofing, they're banging away up there. They're ripping off parts. And all of a sudden, the roof, which some people, many roofing companies say is a system. Now that skylight, it should be part of that system. So all of a sudden you're leaving 1991 technology with a brand new roof. And if you have to go back, it's going to cost twice as much. And after a couple of years, the shingles might match. So even though that was still good, all he's doing is protecting you so that you have decades of no issues. I've seen skylights that are 40 years old. They're out there. All it is a box, metal flashing kits around it, and then the glass. So I have not seen any VELUX glass that has failed, meaning a seal failure issue, since 1993. So it's amazing, the glass. Our no leak skylight comes with, and you have this now, $1,000 per skylight without you doing any paperwork. It's a very impressive warranty. So if there were any leakages in that brand new skylight that you have for 10 years, we will pay up to $1,000 for drywall, for paint, for roofing. That's above and beyond replacing or repairing the skylight. So I think you chose wisely. Unfortunately, it cost you a couple dollars.
Again, long-term investment, so
That's
too bad about it.
That's smart. Thank you. Any other questions?
No, thanks for a very informative presentation. I'm sorry you didn't have better attendance, and let's hope next year we'll be able to have either people more prepared to deal with virtual booths or booths in person.
Yeah, well, thank you both very much. I appreciate your time, and I hope it was helpful. And Chris, I'm glad you were able to get me